Welcome to another episode of Inspirational Entrepreneurial Stories. Now, today is a very, very important episode because I have a very special guest. I've had the pleasure of being an accountability partner, working together with this individual, and his story, most of you hustlers and entrepreneurs out there may actually resonate with. You see, he wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He actually came from Harlem. He was on the streets. He had to find a way to survive. And through his journey, the trials and tribulations that he went through, he had to find a way to grow, to surround himself with like-minded individuals of higher caliber. He became an eloquent speaker. He's been through ups and downs. Pay attention to what he says because there's a pattern here. All of us entrepreneurs think that our story is very unique, that, hey, look, Desmond, you don't understand. My business is very special. But believe it or not, there are some common trends and common patterns. And if you pay attention, you may actually find that Shaan's story is not just inspirational. He's here to give you value. He's gonna give you tips. He's promised me that he's gonna give you very actionable tips that you can implement in your business right away so that you can see growth. Or if you feel stuck and you're hitting a glass ceiling, he's gonna give you something that's gonna help you get unstuck. So help me bring to the show, Shaan Rais.
Thank you, Desmond. Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. I didn't
Shaan,
even know who you were talking about. It sounded so eloquently put together. I was wondering who you were talking about. Where's that guy? I don't know. Sounds good. Maybe I can learn a few things. Go ahead. Thank you, sir.
Well, my pleasure, Shaan. I mean, you inspire me a lot as well because when we first connected, I mean, we were at a virtual event. You popped out, you stood out, because you came very professional. People were showing up on this digital event, this virtual event, and many people didn't have their cameras on. You had your camera on. You were dressed in that wonderful white shirt, red necktie. You stood out. And then on top of that, you participated. You spoke very eloquently. And I could tell that you were an implementer. You took action right away.
If I want to make 2 million, then I work with someone who's worth 2 million. Mm-hmm. So to have someone of your caliber and number respond to me as fast as you do, as intimately and as specifically granular as you do, I know it can't be a henchman, a bot. I know it's you. And it is an honor and a privilege to have that kind of service.
But before we get into that, I want the audience here to hear a bit more about your story. Tell us a bit about the story, whatever you feel comfortable with, about the tough life that you came from. And I know you're not saying this to feel sorry and have people feel sorry for you or you be a victim, but I think there's a lot of people out there that are struggling right now and they need role models like yourself. They need to see people that have done it, that have broken the 4-minute mile. And could you just do that first? Maybe bring up, where did you grow up? What got you into business or what jobs did you do? And then how did you get into the role that you're in right now?
Very well. Yes, sir. So my story begins, I always tell everybody when they ask that question that I'm just a kid from Harlem who God chose to show his favor and mercy through. Because it is only by grace and mercy that I'm able to sit here before you. I grew up in Harlem in the early 1990s and late 80s. And if anyone is familiar, a student of history, I'm probably telling on my age, but that was the infamous crack era. So everything that could have possibly gone wrong did. Anything that you could possibly be involved in that was of negative energy based on the environment, I was a part of that. And I suffered all of the consequences from the wrong decisions that you could possibly think of. With that being said, around the mid-30 mark, I reached a crew in the road. It was 2 roads. I had a choice. I could continue doing what I had always done and getting the same results that I had always gotten, which would have ended tumultuously, as everything always did, or I could take the road untaken. I could stop making excuses, take responsibility for myself and my family at this time, and take a strange path, a path that was unfamiliar, a path that was scary and uncertain for me. And due to the love and the consequences that I had faced, and so many times, all of my friends by this time were either dead or in jail for football years, what we called football numbers. I said, I dared to go out. I dared to go out into the uncharted land. I dared to go out into the foray and just take the best shot at it, because I always said that I was one who believed, but I never allowed. You understand? So I was one of those people who said I always believed and held belief in my heart, but I never allowed what I believed in to play a part in my life. So I finally took myself out of the driver's seat because my best thoughts had gotten me right where I was. And it was a very undesirable position to be in. So I chose finally to give it a shot, to get out of the driver's seat, let someone else come and drive. That was my first experience of mentorship, I guess. I got out of the driver's seat, let someone else drive, and here I am.
So Shaan, that's amazing that you know, I can just, anyone who just heard that, maybe you might want to rewind and re-listen to it again, because you were already laying out a lot of different cryptic messages there in the struggles that you went through. The way you described it, there's a lot of hurt and pain that was there, but yet there's a silver lining at the end of the story. And it sounds to me that you narrowly missed going down a very, very traumatic end. And you're here by the graces of God. You're blessed. You know, we're blessed to have you here as well too. What was that turning point? People want to know some details. Was there a specific moment where you were at your lowest point? Was there something that just hit you like a ton of bricks, or that made you wake up? What was that? And what was the decision that you had to make? Was it easy? And once you made the decision, what happened after?
Okay, well, I had lost everything, Desmond. You can't go into these avenues. You can't live a certain kind of life and bring your family with you. You have to go into these places by yourself. So I had gone into these places by myself. And like I said, the worst possible case scenario that a person can imagine is what took place. So I had lost my family, my freedom, and it wasn't the best case scenario for anyone at all, and I was a very hard-headed individual. I could have continued down that path, but what I chose to do was to give God a chance in my life, because I never had done that before. And it was something new to me completely to release. We're as alpha males and as entrepreneurs and people with entrepreneurial insights and people who grow up fast and grow up young. I lost my father at 14, so it's like I had been a man for so long and I had so much responsibility thrust upon me at a young age. I had no options or intent of relenting and relinquishing control to something greater than myself. But after so many lost battles, after a lost cause for an era that had been passed, I finally said that it was time to change, or at least if it didn't work out, I had given it a chance.
Did that happen overnight, or was that sort of over a period of a couple of weeks?
Oh, that happened over a period of couple of years, actually,
Right.
Desmond. It's a struggle. I had to come back to the right state of mind. I had to go back to school. I literally went back to school. I had gotten a GED. At this point, I enrolled in college. I
Yes.
got an associate's in human services, bachelor's in industrial and organizational psychology, and a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology. My specialization was evidence-based coaching, which kind of led me over to this coaching space as a professional, because I wasn't one who just read a book and became a coach, or took a course and became a coach. I actually have a master's degree in it and have been studying the art and the science of behavioral change for 6 years.
I was gonna say, like, so people need to pay attention to that. That's 6 years of perseverance, 6 years of tenacity, and during that 6 years, is it all a blur? Or was, what kept you going? What made you want to put in all that time? Because people these days, the younger generation, they want instant results. Their life is messed up. Someone we're talking to on this video is watching this, and they made a decision. So we're happy for them. We're proud that they've made that decision, but they're hearing 6 years. They're going, oh my God, Shaan, that's a long time to invest. Do I need to put in 6 years?
Oh yeah, well let me tell you, there's two or three, four or five more after that. I have also have a master's degree in organizational development and change after that, and I'm actually in a double doctorate now, right? And I've worked as an organizational consultant for government agencies for the before I left, before entrepreneurialism allowed me to leave the job setting. I was in the job setting for 6 years as well, and this is your proving ground. Person said to me, Aberdeen proving ground. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. You want to be you want to be comfortable playing small to ever play large. You have to be comfortable playing small to play large, and you want to grow gradually. It has to be sustainable growth, because if you hit the lottery or you just become rich without working for it, you're going to lose it fast because you won't value it, right? So you want to take the long road. This is not a sprint. Success is a marathon.
It is. That's very sage advice, Shaan. Tell us more about, at which point along this whole journey. So we can see that you've got from the streets, we can see the catastrophes that are happening in your life, the switch over, the epiphany, and then this almost fanatical, it's something that maybe brought you comfort to just focus and educate. And so you went back, and now you've worked for government organizations, you've got all the accolades. When did you switch then to the entrepreneurial side? What motivated you to go there? Was there a particular person, a role model, a mentor? Was it a group of people? Was it church? Was it a community? What motivated you to go into the entrepreneurial side of things?
I really appreciate that question. And it brings, I think, the topic here to mind. One of my mentors is Dr. Eric Thomas. And at watching him around 2013, 2014, as I'm going through this struggle and I'm going through this regenesis or this rebuilding process, I listened to When You Want to Succeed as Bad as You Want to Breathe.
He had him held down just before my man was about to pass out. He raised him up. He said, I got a question for you. Somebody answered the question for me. He said, when you were underwater, what did you want to do? Lee, I'm looking for a different word though than lip. What's that word? He said, I wanted to breathe. He told the guy, he said, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful.
And it was that motivational video that just kind of clicked for me, because he comes from a disparaging background, eating out of garbage cans, coming from the streets of Michigan. It resonated with me. And I just said to myself, see, we have to see it before we can believe it. They say if you can believe it, you can conceive it. And if you can conceive it, you can achieve it. But before you can believe it, you have to see it. So when I saw the example of possibility, I saw the example of possibility within me. And when I heard his story, I saw remnants of my own. And that was all it took. Once I saw the light, there was a shred of light. Then I had a purpose. So my entire educational pursuits, my entire occupational pursuits, I had a goal. I knew that there was possibility. And if there was a possibility for a person like me and a person like you probably watching this, where there's possibility, there's promise.
Shaan, what would you say to someone right now who is just getting started? They're under 100,000, maybe even under 50,000. They've had some challenges in their life. They may not even, or they may still be maintaining a job, and they're experimenting a bit. They're kind of a solopreneur, or maybe they've got a VA. Go back in time a bit. Speak to them as if you're speaking to a younger Shaan. And what advice would you give them? What's about to happen coming up? Because you and I have walked the minefield in front of them. What challenges are they about to encounter, and how can they circumvent those?
Well, you're walking in a minefield, that's for sure. People have been here before. That's also for sure. You want to watch the path of someone who has done it before. You want to find someone who has done it before. You want to look for the footsteps. You want to look for the beaten path. You want to look for the well-trodden road where success has been gained before, because it's said that success leaves clues, and I promise you it does. Right? So when you find someone who's humble enough, who's authentic enough, who's caring and giving and charitable enough to show you where to step, so that you don't step on the numerous landmines that I stepped on, because I was a hardhead. Like I said, it took me a long time to become humble. It took me a lot of losses to become humble, to be kind of beaten into humility, right? Don't take my path. Don't wait so long to take on a mentor. Get a mentor. Find the community, find the people who are willing to help you. They're all around you. It's all about perspective and looking at things from different angles. You're not alone. You're not out here alone, and you're not doing something that that no one has done before. You're doing something that many people have done before. And the thing that you learn about us when you really find out about us is that we're humble and we're always looking back to help the next person. And you probably know a couple of those people right now. Take their advice, listen to them, look for them. And when you find them, hold on to them.
Shaan, what would you say to someone who might be looking up and hearing your story, and they might even be saying, but you know, Shaan, I don't have that much money. I'm not broke. You know, I've kind of cleaned up. I've got some outstanding debts. I can't afford, you know, there's a lot of these gurus out there. I can't afford a mentor, or, you know, how do I give value? How do I find a mentor? How, you know, you mentioned, okay, you find some people, hold on to them. But how do I even get them to take me on as a mentee or as an apprentice?
Humble yourself and find a way to serve. You may have never heard of servant leadership. I would say Google it immediately and find a way to serve. You want to add value. Even the lowest on the rung can add value. You have to add value. A number one can teach a zero, and a number three can teach a number one. So just look behind you. Somebody always needs help. Listen, when somebody sees you adding value to those behind you, no matter how far you are behind them, they'll look upon you with grace, and they'll realize that you're doing the same thing. You're just starting late. That's all it is. We're all on the same path. Some just started earlier than others. So you're starting earlier than others too. And find who you can help and help them and serve them, because charity and goodwill is karma. It will come back to you. As far as finding someone to be a mentor, you can find them here. Before I had money, I had YouTube. And that gave me a plethora of mentors that I became a mentee of through default. By default, these people were mentors and guidance counselors and all kinds of coaches and gurus showing me the way, until I could finally take enough of that information, apply it, get the money from it, and then be able to invest. And that's my next gem of advice. Listen, your investment, I was speaking to a client today with an investment, always, because there's always a cost to go to the next level. Either money or time. There's always a cost to go to the next level. There's always an investment incurred to go to the next level. You have to stretch and you have to grow. You have to invest in that growth. You have to invest in that stretch. The higher the investment, the more the growth. The higher the challenge, the more the achievement behind it. Right? So I told the client, I said, listen, you have to make the investment. And they said the same thing that you just proposed to me, Desmond. They said, well, how do I don't know, because I'm kind of behind in this and I'm behind in that. I said, listen, if you can't afford to, you can't afford not to. So if you're listening to me right now and you've got an investment on your mind, you've got an investment on your heart, and you know you should be doing something, but you feel like you don't have the money, don't hold on to the money that you have. The money that you're holding right now, you have to be a proper steward of it. So you want to sow back into it so that you can use it for a step ladder, right? So if you cannot afford it, that's a sure sign that you can't afford not to.
Wow. And I know that, you know, when Shaan, you and I connected, you shared with me a story, which I'd love for you to share with the other viewers. That's how you gave, you know, you mentioned Dr. Eric Thomas, which, by the way, that's probably where you and I connected on. We had a very common bond on it, because back in 2014, when I was a single parent and I was at my lowest point, 36 years old with 2 young kids, and the one thing that I listened to on that dirty commuter bus going to work was, you know, Eric Thomas saying in my ear, I would hear it every morning, and I'd have tears rolling down my eyes. I'd hide my face in the window, and he would talk about it, you know, when you want it as bad as you want to breathe. And I could hear his voice in the back of my head. Now, how did you get him to be a mentor of yours? Because you weren't really as big as you are now. You weren't the big leader as you were, and you were trying to get things going. How did you get him to pay attention to you?
It was so humble. It was so humble. I get chills on my body right now as I think about your question. I wrote a book. I wrote my first book, The 7 Prerequisites to Success, and I followed the steps that I saw the successful taking. I looked around. I said, everybody that I follow has a book. So I wrote a book. I started where I was with the information that I had. So I wrote a book called The 7 Prerequisites to Success. And when I got the published version, not the published, the edited version back, When I got the edited version back, you might remember this, you might not, someone who's in New York. I was on the Long Island Railroad on my way home from work, and I'm looking at the edited version, and I just got this sheer feeling of, it was almost like an epiphany, but it was also like divine intervention. There was a feeling where I was the only person on the car. And if you guys remember that car, like those cars, those train cars stayed packed, but I felt like I was the only person there and I had a duty to fulfill. I felt like I had a duty and I was called. There was a purpose. It sounds so uncanny. So watch what I did. I looked for the last email that I had received from his marketing team, Eric's marketing team, because I think I was in Breathe University. It might've been a $20 subscription or something light. I had never had any like one-on-one human interaction with anyone on his team, but I looked for the last marketing email. And when I got it, I spoke to it. I responded to the cold marketing email, didn't know who I was talking to, was speaking to nobody in general, but I let my heart out. So that's one thing you want to do. You want to be authentic. You want to be humble. You want to be honest. You want to be genuine, and you want to be authentic. So I authentically told my story, and I said, thank you for the mentorship that he had provided me, even though he never met me. And I told him how his path crossed my path and how I was inspired to go to school. And at that time I was in my first master's degree. And I told him that, and how I had changed my life. And I told him that, and how my children had accepted me as their father and they were proud of their father. And I told him that, and how I had actually became an author and had my first book edited. And all I wanted to do was see if I was headed down the right path. I wanted him to tell me what I had done wrong, what I had done right. If he, I did not know that he would even see these pages, but I felt convicted to give him his proper credibility and give him all of the kudos that he deserved, and just say thank you. And not just say thank you or be a fan, but show him something of substance that his story played a part in. So I gave that to him. And lo and behold, 2 weeks after that, I'm sitting at the portal in my little cubicle office, and I got a response from somebody from his team. And they said, hey, Shaan, Eric read the book. He's reading the book. Now he's very busy, but he said that if you would wait to publish it, he would be willing to write the foreword. Desmond.
Wow.
It knocked me out of my chair. When I say it knocked me out of my chair, it punched me out of my body. It was like a third world experience. So here's my body sitting in this chair, and here's my spirit behind me looking at me like, you were scared. You were scared to make the move. And here's a multimillionaire confirming for you that you are who you always suspected that you might be.
And I think for the viewers that are watching this, Dr. Eric Thomas has got hundreds of thousands of followers around the world. And, I've worked with my mentor, Dan Locke, as well, too. And, he's got hundreds of thousands of followers behind myself as well. I've got a budding group. There's too many messages to respond to. They're just every day, even just me alone. I've got thousands of Facebook messages, WhatsApp messages, LinkedIn messages. The odds, what are the odds of Dr. Eric Thomas seeing your email, maybe it's through his team, and then reading your book, taking the time to read your book, and then taking the time to respond to you? I get chills just listening to that story. So then, what next? You got excited. You must have felt, unbelievable, breathtaking way. But then now you felt the great responsibility. Now what? What did you do next with that gift, that blessing of, hey, someone is thinking enough about you, believing in you enough to reach their hand out and offer you a hand up? What did you do with that responsibility?
Well, I became convicted. It lit me on fire, Desmond. I'm always a hard driver. I was like super tenacious and driven before. What this did was it literally lit me on fire, and no one could tell me anything at that point, because I knew that somebody else knew. It wasn't just me anymore. I always said there was a possibility, but now it was confirmed for me. Like on high or from high, it was confirmed for me that I really had value, that what I had written was worth something, that my voice was worthy of being heard. So I invested everything at that. I just pushed all my chips in the table, and I have done so ever since. I've always bet on myself. I've always bet the house, the car, everything besides the family. I've bet everything else on what my purpose is. And that is to inspire others and help leaders become brands and help other people to make their monthly income yearly, their yearly income. I help people make their yearly income monthly, their monthly income weekly, and their weekly income daily, and find freedom through entrepreneurialism. That was my purpose. I said, if he can set himself free, because he told the story of being in Michigan and his employers telling him that he could not go see his daughter's graduation. And that's when he decided to set himself free. Now, here I am. I haven't been working for a full 7 years, but I'm already feeling the pull and the strain. There was something in me saying that you have more, you're born for more, you're destined for more, and there is a people waiting for you to make more of a move so you can be more of a contribution to their freedom. So that's what I've been doing ever since. The same way he gave me that back, and it kind of set me free in my spirit and in my purpose. I've been doing the same thing ever since.
Shaan, I want to touch on something here because you just mentioned something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs secretly go through, and we don't talk about it. You don't read about it in the books, and you don't really see it even in the YouTube videos or the podcast. And that is the fear of success, or maybe the self-sabotage. Now, I'm not presuming to put that label on you. I'm speaking from my own story, because when you said that, something went off in my head, and that's the same thing. I was always not really playing, I had mentors. You and I share mutual mentors. I've had mentors that believed in me more than I believed in myself. And that belief is phenomenal. It gives you so much power. So I cannot stress the importance of having a mentor, having a coach, having an accountability group, a mastermind, people that believe in you, that pull you up. Shaan's saying that. You can hear the pattern here. But then there's us. There's the limiting beliefs in us. Sometimes we play a little bit small. And Shaan, if you've experienced that, please share be vulnerable a bit. Share with the audience, what was that like, where we were kind of, okay, maybe I'm going to stick with my job a bit. We know that there's this nagging thing that people need us. Maybe we need to step into that, but we're still a little bit nervous. Did you experience that yourself? I did.
Yes, I did. I definitely did. It was so interesting too, because I had the bank account. The bank account, the amount in the bank account kept telling me, you're free. Like, you can leave. You can leave at any time. And my family was waiting on me, and there was a date set, and I was supposed to leave. There was something inside of me that kept me kind of tethered to the cubicle, tethered to the office, if you will. And it was an internal fight. My entire family believed in it. They saw it. They knew the goals. Everybody, my team was with it. Everybody was saying, you got to go. I had a community. That's how it happened for me, Desmond. I don't know about yourself, but my community actually voted me out. They bought me out. They were so many, and they were paying me so well. They were paying me more than the job could ever, right? Probably 5-7 times what my job was paying me, but I was still sitting there for some odd reason. There was something deep seated inside of me that said, you might not be, maybe it was strange land is what it was. Desmond, it was strange land. I was at that crew again, the same one I told you about before when I made the decision. I was at that crew again, another crossroads, another level. Like I said, there was another investment, another level of belief in myself that I had to make. And when I made it, I've never looked back, and it literally gave me wings, and it'll give you wings too, whoever's paying attention to this. That when you bet on yourself and you believe in yourself, you'll never feel free like that day.
Shaan, I know that in now I've been blessed to call you one of my running mates, one of my friends, one of my accountability partners as well too. You're just the epitome of implementation. Now I know that you've also had other mentors advise you. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. We can be our own roadblock. What does the future look like for Shaan Rais right now? What is the? I think people look up to you. They respect you. You have a massive community of people that look up to you because you're humble. You inspire people. You don't sympathize. You empathize with people. You don't step down to their level, you challenge them to step up. And so I think the viewers want to know, someone's watching this, what's ahead of Shaan? What are you challenging? What are the battles that you're fighting with right now? And what can we do to support you?
Well, the next thing that I'm looking for and listening for always is the pulse of my community. Desmond, my thing is to serve to a higher degree. So I'm always looking for the next need. So during the pandemic, I brought clients in and I'm coaching them, and they showed me that they needed branding. So I created the course Branding Like a Leader. And then when they got done, they started telling me that they wanted coaching certification. They wanted to do the same thing that I did. So I put together the course Coaching Like a Leader. And then towards the end of that, which is right now, they're telling me that they need to increase sales. So I'm working on Closing Like a Leader. So when it comes to what my next move is or what my next value add is, it's up to my community. When they tell me what their need is, I fulfill the need. And that's how I create whatever it is that I have of value or worth. Because as Jim Rohn said, you can have as much as you want when you help as many people get what they want out of life. So that's my purpose. And they'll determine my next steps. My next steps are not my own. They will be guided, and they will be guided by the people that I serve, because I believe most highly in two things: servant leadership and transformational leadership.
I love that. I love it. In fact, Shaan, you're such an eloquent speaker. I know that those who are watching this right now, comment below if you've enjoyed hearing Shaan's story. If you'd like to hear more of his story, if you'd like to have him come back on the show, in fact, ask him specific questions in the comments below, and I will actually point Shaan towards those to actually reply to you. But on the other hand, if you're ready, Shaan inspires you, he touches you, he's someone, he speaks to your heart. Shaan is such a servant leader. I'm gonna put his descriptions and his contacts in the description below. Shaan, if they want to reach out to you, what can they expect? What should they do? Give us some direction. Someone's watching this. They love you. They want to get in touch with you. They want to model what you did with Eric Thomas. They want to connect with you. And what have you done with your mentors? Give them some direction. What action should they take?
Come humble, come ready to learn, come ready to be challenged, stretched, and changed. Because we don't play with kid gloves in the area of success. I help leaders become brands. And it's not an easy job. It's by example. So I never ask someone to do something that I'm not doing, that I haven't done, or that I won't do. But my path wasn't an easy one. You have to lose all of your former self. And you have to be willing to step into the darkness, the cold abyss, the uncertain, the unknown, the uncharted. It's cold, it's dark, and it's scary. It's really different. It's really different. And you can't go through something that's only transactional and expect to be transformed. It has to be transformational. So one thing that we always do here within the Shaan Rais brand is we put the impact over the income. We put the meaningfulness over the money. We put the purpose over the profit. And we put the transformation over the transaction. So come humble, come ready to be served, but come ready to be stretched, challenged, and transformed.
Thank you so much, Shaan. In fact, go up here and click on the I button. I'm gonna put one of Shaan's best videos here that you can link, and go ahead and subscribe to his YouTube channel as well, to follow his videos, Shaan. I just really appreciate always having you on as a guest. You always inspire me. And Shaan, where can they reach out to you? How can they get your book? If they want to get your book, where should they go to?
Well, everything is at ShaanRais.com. And if you just Google my name, everything will come up. You know, I don't have one specific link. If you just Google my name, everything will come up. So that's Shaan Rais, ShaanRais.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the show, Shaan. We will see you guys in the next episode.